Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today with Nathan Rosenberg, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for Virgin Voyages. Now, Nathan and I were recently on a cruise in the Caribbean, and is my second time. I was there very early with Virgin, and this time I just thought they really have nailed it. They've got it down, and it really things are humming. And now I want to go on a longer cruise, and as Nathan's going to talk about, the fourth ship is coming in, and that's going to be amazing where they're going and what it's going to do. But we thought we'd get a chance to get an update on what Virgin is going on at Virgin, and we're going to talk to him about all this and more on Insider Travel Report. First of all, Nathan, great to see you.
You as well, James. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is like my first time. I feel like a novice, so I hope I can handle
I'll
the
try.
questions.
I try to be kind. Okay.
I would appreciate that because I'm not ready for a 60 minutes kind of moment, if
Oh
you
no,
know what I
well,
mean.
that's it. That we're going to say now. Where were you at?
Yeah, exactly. You have the camera crew following me around, but
No, no, we're not.
I'm
We
glad you
don't.
enjoyed.
We don't do that. We don't do that. So
I,
we're
I'm
good.
glad you enjoyed the top 100 voyage. I will say that I've been on a few voyages, obviously, not surprisingly, but that one was a special one because it was so lovely. As you were saying before, that it's a chance to celebrate our top 100 first mates,
Yeah.
who are an amazing group of people, energetic, vibrant. But it's one of those places where, because it's a shorter voyage, there's a lovely energy, and I think you see it basically when the minute you step on the ship, and the range of people of all ages of the ship enjoying that, and then being there together with people who have helped this business grow has been phenomenal. Nermal, our CEO, was on board. Michelle, our
Yeah,
chief
no, he was
operating
great, and I think the joke was he'd never been on board. He said, "Well, I never was invited." No.
I
and
think
and
John and the team were like saying this time, Nermal, you got to come. I think John showed that he had invited Nermal, but Nermal had some other things going on in early January. But this is the thing I loved what you just said is important.
yeah,
We've spent 3 years building this product. We have launched 3 ships in a period of time that most brands would launch them over a period of years. And even though our ships are pretty much full right now, it is amazing how the experience has gotten better, and our satisfaction scores have gotten better, and our return rates have gotten higher. And I think that's it. It's almost like we're seeing the dream come to life, and it's really, really wonderful to kind of be in this place right now. And it's great the industry is buoyant, but I'm really thrilled that Virgin Voyages, thanks to First Mates, is also buoyant.
well, when you get the fourth ship, Brilliant Lady out, we're gonna sit down and we'll talk on board that one. That's gonna be really fun, and it's gonna
To
be in New
use the
York.
joke, to use the joke Richard keeps saying, it better be brilliant.
It better be brilliant. Okay, we've been warned. Anyway,
Yeah.
so let's talk about a few things going on. Obviously, we are in the sort of the end of wave season. It's coming to a close. Can you talk about what Virgin is doing now as wave season is really coming to an end?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'd say is that wave season is obviously historically very important to the cruise industry. We all put our very best offers out there and work out to make sure that our first mates can feel rewarded for the work they do, but also customers or sailors or passengers or whatever anyone calls them also feel like it's a good time to buy. I do think Virgin has always had a principle, though, that we should always be very, very good value overall, and also not just for our customers, but also our first mates should feel like the proposition they have with us is also rewarding. But it's not a secret. Effectively, this is a time of year where people are really shopping, so you want to make sure you put your best foot forward. I have been surprised at how incredibly successful this wave season has been. We've seen obviously incredibly strong revenue growth and bookings growth further than we anticipated, which is really exciting. Our bookings are further out. Our customers are actually buying the different itineraries we now offer because we have a much more expansive product, from 4 nights to 8 nights to
Yeah,
12 nights, basically. And I think what happens is that we're now seeing a time that the cruise industry, because it's such great value compared to many land-based options. I mean, so even though wave season looks like it's ending, I wouldn't be surprised, given the macroeconomic factors people are leaning into, the anxiety people have over the cost of living. Cruise is great value. It is a choice that gives you incredible experiences, lots of great value. And so I think in that context, cruise might actually have an incredibly buoyant year, even if others are feeling the pressure because of
right.
those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this not this winter, but next winter, you're going to have four ships in the Caribbean. What is the reason why people should choose Virgin Voyages? I mean, talk a little bit about your main selling points right now for having with four ships there.
Well, I think the number one selling point, and this will surprise nobody, is the fact that we are adults only.
Right.
And this is a true opportunity for you to go away with your friends, your family, your grown up kids, people you love, and have one of those vacations that allows you to reconnect with people. And look, the Caribbean is very much a part of Virgin's history. Richard Branson lives in the Caribbean. He has a
Right.
lovely home on Necker Island in the British Virgin Islands. Virgin Atlantic, the airline, flies into a number of Caribbean destinations.
Right.
And so it is natural that we would want people to have an option. And the thing is, now you have pretty much all the things First Mates and our customers have been asking for. We were originally a 5 and 4 night itinerary pattern out of Miami. We then obviously moved our second ship, Valiant. She became an 8-6 out of the Miami base into the Caribbean.
Right.
It's now different because we have a ship sailing out of San Juan. We have a Brilliant Lady doing sailings out of Miami. So you asked for longer itinerary lengths, we've delivered them. You asked for more ship choices with different experiences on board, we've delivered them. But here's what I really love, and I hope this is okay for me to say, James. Like, I think the thing is, we are not a product or a brand that's known for longer itineraries. We've been working tirelessly to make sure that if you do bring a customer on board, you can be sure of one. I'd say three things. Firstly, our entertainment is evolving. So even the ships that have been in service for a while have new entertainment offerings coming on board. But what we're offering on Brilliant Lady, I think, is going to astound people, and they'll get very excited at the range of new shows and the number of things you can do. We have a lovely thing, which you'll know, the Happenings cast, who are effectively the enablers of great times on board. We blew up the cruise director model. We created a group of people who help different experiences come to life. Every single ship now has a unique set of happenings, and make sure that effectively that what goes on board reflects the destinations, but also the length of that voyage, so you don't get bored. And the third thing is we've been working to make sure that there are some new menu items in our people's favorite restaurants, but also on Brilliant Lady, a whole new restaurant idea from us, which is a pop-up, very similar to what we did recently on Scarlet Lady with Lucky Lotus, brought to you by Razzle Dazzle. We have a new idea coming out, which we're going to talk about in a few weeks, which I tell people to come back. But that's what I think, we feel very good about the destinations, many more options, 44 different itineraries in the Caribbean. It is beautiful. And trust me, when it's cold up north, when it's cold in the middle of the country, there is no better place to be. And as a brand that started in England, we know cold weather. I mean, dreary skies.
You know what we're talking about. No, absolutely.
Exactly.
And then you said, you are doing new ports like Ocho Rios. You're going to Cartagena, late night there. I mean, there's some interesting destinations that you're putting in. And look, I will never argue about you. The entertainment I always thought was fabulous on even from the beginning. It was so innovative and new. And the shows, and you're putting even more shows on. So there's a lot of reasons to go back, right?
Yeah, and so look, I think that's right. There's an element of there are places you want to go and there are places you might have been, but you could do it with Virgin that might give you a different perspective. What we're very clear on when we choose places is what can you do there? What kind of experiences? We always want to make sure that pretty much all of our itineraries offer late night stays so you can actually explore more, go deeper, so to speak. Right. A lot of our itineraries have that beautiful stop in Bimini at our beach club, which I know you've enjoyed, and we've also seen the gorgeousness of that space in a place where people come together, and it feels very sort of Mediterranean sunk sank kind of experience. But the addition of the new itineraries is chosen by our customers and First Mates. Like, we literally ask them where are the places they want to go. Cartagena is incredible. The cultural experiences you can have is amazing, but the blend is important. We want to make sure that as you go through your own vacation, no matter how many nights, that you have the chance to lean in and have great fun if you want to, or even go to places where you can explore more deeply and sort of see incredible scenes, or just relax on the beach. You've got to give people the chance to have the vacation at their speed, the way they want to.
Right.
So that's what we're really focused on. Where do you want to go and what do you want to do?
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great Caribbean season for you next year too. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Virgin Voyages offer sort of specially programmed sailings. I understand you got a number of things on tap.
Yeah, so I think when you start with a core set of itineraries, they become options for people to sort of choose, what was their first foray into Virgin Voyages. Being an adults only line, like kid free, gives you the chance to then think about what's the kind of programming that adults want when they're together, basically. And this then spun off a thing we call our sort of specialty voyages. Now, we have a range of them because there are different things that we know that Virgin customers love, and we also know that you like to experience as just humans. So well-being is a very important part of all of our lives now. The living life well matters. And so vacations are a core part of that. And so January, we tend to designate as well-being month, which means across the entire fleet, there are lovely health and wellness activities. And we're not saying just drink green juice and like run around a track. It is about sometimes spiritual immersion. It is about meditation. It is about just taking time away from the crazy to really make sure you are able to deal with what crazy life we have at home. We've become famous for our lovely, lovely food and drink month. As you
Yeah,
well
I heard
know,
about
we
that.
are.
I got to go on one of these. That sounds great. Yeah.
It is beautiful because we really bring on board a range of specialty chefs. There are pop-ups that take place on board the ship. There are moments where you get to meet the chefs and sort of hear about the way they've constructed their restaurants. Principles around food. There are classes that we don't normally offer because that is a month of celebrating the joy of conviviality and eating together, because there really is nothing more special than being with people you love and sharing a good meal.
Mhm.
And we've won awards for our food. I know it's one of the things that if you've sold a Virgin Voyage, your customers have come back and said how much they love that. When you do that, though, there are moments where you want to amplify that experience. And what happens out of that lovely food and drink month is we learn things about what people love, and they become fleet-wide later on in the year. So that's another great one. We have our celebration voyages, which is where we celebrate the history of Virgin, the fact that we were a record company that became an airline, that became a gym chain, that became a cruise line, basically. And so that allows us to say to our loyalty sailors, and we have so many more than we thought we would at this stage, that we celebrate you and you're part of the family. So we bring guest speakers from around the Virgin Group to talk about the incredible things. Richard seems to pop on and surprise people, which is
Yeah,
always
I've heard he
exciting.
does. Yeah.
He does. And the thing about Richard is he loves to play chess. And if you're ever looking for him, go to the social club, because you will probably find him playing chess there,
Good.
basically, because
All
that's
right.
where we
Good,
always
good,
find
good to
him.
know next time. I think my chess playing days are kind of over. When I was a teenager, I used to play a lot of chess. But if I have
I'm
a
not,
chance to if I can play with Sir Richard Branson, I'll do that.
no, he's very competitive. I just don't even try because I lose all the time. He gets such joy out of it. But the other two that I've mentioned is you've got Celebration Voyage. We now do a comedy voyage. We have Jack White in the UK. He's joining us. Basically, it's going to be amazing. Like, he's a phenomenal talent. Basically, he's curating the whole voyage. But the one that gets everybody talking, and actually it's a 1-2 punch. It's Halloween
Oh
and it's
wow,
New Year's Eve. We have
wow.
become famous for those voyages because it is spooktacular, and absolutely, we stay up past midnight on New Year's Eve. But those are moments when we celebrate us, we have fun, and we are all kind of in joyful moments. So yeah, we do think our normal voyages, as I like to call them, are actually really great. But if you're looking for something a little bit extra, then you should check out our specialty voyages, because they are really wonderfully passed up and actually themed in a way which allows you to participate and feel really sort of attached to people who also like to celebrate particular things. I'm not a big fan of Halloween, I'll be honest, because I'm from
Yeah.
Australia, and we just did not do it down there, so I get a little scared. But I believe that everyone tells me how crazy they are, and I don't know if you've seen them. We run these little paid ads which have like kids on board, so it's the feel like you wake up and there's kids on board, and that's what scares people. There are no kids on board, just so you know. I
That's
promise.
the horror, right?
Yeah, so no trick or treating going on unless it's you going onto knocking on people's cars
Yes.
asking.
No, that looks like it sounds like a lot of fun, and that's one of the
Yeah.
things that and I can't imagine New Year's Eve has got to be a lot of fun too.
Actually, and I'll give you a little bit of scoop. Later this, about a month, we're going to announce something that's going to be on our New Year's Eve voyages. As you said, we have 4 ships in the Caribbean. So the question is, what would you do when you have 4 sisters who are in the Caribbean, and how do you make a moment? Let me just say, mermaids are involved, and there's something that might take place across the whole fleet, but it's going to be very, very cool. So if you are looking for something to do this New Year's Eve and you don't want to spend time with people that you don't like on land at a party that's lame, head out to sea with us, because we got you.
All right, you may have a deal there. I may have to go for that. I
Anyone?
that sounds great. Now, you mentioned earlier, and obviously we're all waiting. This fourth ladyship is coming this fall, and you're going to have Brilliant Lady. What's new about that ship that's going to be kind of rock everybody? I think there's a lot of new stuff going on. You mentioned earlier
Yeah, and
new
absolutely.
shows and new eatery, things like that, right?
Yeah, so I think the thing that's been wonderful on our lovely journey, we started with Scarlett, who is like she represents the passion and joy we'll have for life. Then we moved on to gorgeous Valiant, who's about strength and courage and like going new places, and then Resilient, which is like making sure we sort of take time to rebuild our strength to get on with life. And then there's Brilliant, which celebrates our intellectual curiosity. And that was kind of the brief, which is, how do we make this one brilliant? And it is the culmination of the stories and the energy and the feedback we've received over the last 3 years. And what I will say is, I think, not to say that you like, if you have children, not that one of them is your favorite, but the thing is, there are the ones who effectively become those that you sort of realize have taken life's lessons and put them together. And that's what Brilliant Lady is. She has a whole range of new shows on board. We have 6 new shows coming on board Brilliant Lady. By the way, that doesn't mean we're not evolving on those ships. We've
Yeah.
just announced Valiant Ladies lineup change. We've got that coming for Scarlet as well. So just keep an eye on that. But those new shows range from a range different genres to kind of let people see that no matter what you're looking for, Virgin Voyages now has one of the broadest ranges of entertainment it's ever had. And excitingly, we also have a whole stack of new happenings. So we blew up the cruise director. We created this thing called the happenings cast. They are the enablers of the moments on board that are special. They bring people together. There are small events and large events.
Right.
About 25 to 30% of those are unique to each ship, as they will be on Brilliant. And then another sort of 20% are done for the ship in the destination it's going to. So they're old favorites, but augmented, and then the new ones. Because we don't want you to feel like if you're going on a longer voyage, you'll get bored, because you will not get bored, I promise you.
Yeah,
The
I don't
food,
think it's possible, but
no, I hope that's the case, because I also am one of those people. I quite like my time sitting in the hammock on the balcony reading my book, or sitting at the
you
dock
have to
ordering
have
the
some
time,
of that
not doing
time
anything.
too, no matter what.
100%. So, and those moments are the special ones that allow you to then sort of make sure you can stay up late at Scarlet Night, of course. We are bringing back Scarlet Night, but it has a twist on it this time. So she brings some new energy and moments of excitement. But the food, as I said before, is important. We have new menu items going to a number of the core restaurants, but we have an entirely new restaurant concept we're launching, which has been driven out of passion. There is a flavor profile that exists, which we think matches the destinations we have fallen in love with as part of our journey around the world, that we think brings a little bit of zhuzh in a great way. So keep an eye out, because here's what's happening over the next 6 weeks. If you check back with us, and I'll always make sure you have a little bit of a tip, James, but we will be revealing a whole lot of exciting things. Entertainment drops this week. So if you just come back to
I'll have to take a look. I'm
virginvoyages.com,
waiting for that. Yeah. Yeah.
you'll see the whole entertainment lineup revealed. Then in about 2.5, 3 weeks, we'll let you know about the food. We're going to do a bit more of what the shore things are, and then some of the really exciting developments as it relates to this general programming. So we're really excited stuff. And I will tell you, the launch of Brilliant Lady in New York,
Yeah.
when she sails from the other side of the world, the shakedown, as it's called in the industry, is our friends and family, the people who've been on the journey with us for 4 years, 5 years as we've been building this company. Our crew, we have a very, very cool celebratory moment that Rich will be out to thank everybody for their love and support of Virgin Voyages. It's a little moment of gift back to everybody for their support. But it allows us to kind of come into the city that welcomes people. There's always been a beacon of hope and liberty. And we are thrilled that Brilliant Lady will make her first stop there and then do things around the Northeast, because
Well, that's
it
the thing.
is
I can't wait for that, because then you're going to some, in addition to the Caribbean, you're going through the Panama Canal, you're going to
yeah.
California, and then Alaska.
Off to Alaska, of course. And, she will be the newest ship that's been to Alaska, basically. Not to say the other ships aren't wonderful, but she's the newest vessel that will be in Alaska. Alaska is selling incredibly well. If you are a first mate, you will know that. So I would say that first season, if you're looking for people to get on the ship in Alaska, I would not wait too much longer, because things are really heating up. The Panama Canal voyage to the other side, I sold out really quickly. And LA is doing really, really well for us. I think we have a very strong base out there because of Virgin America when it used to fly out of LA and San Francisco.
Sure.
So lots of customers who used to fly are booking. What's exciting about her, she'll also, when she comes back to Miami, she does 7-night voyages. We've not done 7-night voyages out of Miami before, so that was a thing that our first mates were asking for. But you're right, it is really cool to see not just where she goes. So she does this like almost road tour of the US and kind of goes to those four corners, Alaska and LA, and then to New York and Miami. But then next year it gets even more cool, because we've got Iceland, Istanbul later this year. But we actually have a sailing next year that's going to Iceland as the eclipse is happening. And at that same time, the second lovely lady will be down in Mallorca when the eclipse is happening, and Richard will be in Mallorca actually to celebrate, because he has a property there called San Magnola, which is a beautiful property. So I'm just saying, if you've done everything planned for next year, an eclipse voyage is perfect, but I'd suggest you either get onto the Alaska sailings or the ones out of Miami, because they are going to be epic.
It sounds amazing. Well, we can't wait, and hopefully I'll have a chance to see you in New York at least. And then it sounds like I should just start in New York and just keep going and follling around through the Caribbean, the Panama
Never get
Canal.
off.
Oh, yeah,
I'm never going to let you off.
It's called the New Virgin World Cruise, but we didn't know that.
That was one of Richard's ideas originally. So I've had to try and trick him by saying, but look, we pretty much cover most of the world. But it was like he was very excited about the idea of going around the world. And I think, obviously we've seen some of the other brands do those really well. It is definitely something he wants us to do. He really sees the idea of kind of exploring the whole world. But I think he's saying, can we do it in 80 days? And it's like, it's not quite that easy, Richard.
Around the world in
Like
80 days.
balloon thing. So, but it is lovely. I
Well,
feel like I think
he has been known to use a few balloons, so that's
exactly. So look, sure, we have 4 ships in the Caribbean this winter, but when you look at the pattern of sailings next year, we go to places you probably don't realize Virgin goes to. Like the fact that we have sailings that go to Norway, to Iceland, to Istanbul, to parts of the southern Mediterranean, to Morocco. Like we go the places you've been asking us to do, and it's so lovely to be at a point where our 4 ships mean that vision is complete. And so if you think you know Virgin, because of the 554 itineraries, they're still great. They're still great ways to introduce new cruise customers to a cruise, or someone in South Florida to a quick getaway. But I'd ask you to think again, because if you've got customers in their 50s and 60s who are looking for a kid-free vacation, quite sophisticated and elevated, as James will tell you, this is a good option for you, because it is great to be on a vessel without the screaming children.
Okay, so that sounds wonderful. Now, the last question I want to ask you is about a new program you just introduced called Circles. It's officially launched now, and tell us first of all what it is and what should travel advisors or your first mates be excited about with Circles.
I think the most important thing is that this program was built and designed by First Mates. So Nermal and John basically crowdsourced ideas about what mattered to our First Mates. What was very clear for us from that messaging was this has to be fair and flexible. We have a value proposition for our customers, which is incredibly inclusive, as you probably know, which means you don't pay for things and feel nickel and dimed. They also, with our First Mates, we don't pay NCF. So the idea that we would create a program that actually had flexibility. So none of those crazy deposit systems or credit points systems to work out what your value is. There are 2 really great parts to that. If you have a group you can book, which is more than 8 cabins, an incredibly valuable program full of really rich sort of rewards for everybody. If you don't know if you can book 8, there's another great program called Circles one, which is about like just spec groups, as some people would call it, but that kind of gives you incredible value for the smaller group, because we have become the brand for celebrations. Our biggest and most interesting things are groups of friends who haven't seen each other for a while. It's anniversaries, it's birthdays, it's weddings have just exploded. We launched weddings just 3 months ago, and we've already sold about 100 weddings, which was surprising to us. We thought that would take years to get to that level. So, and some of those are second weddings and third weddings, just so you know.
I can imagine.
Which is okay. We don't judge. Like, it's up if you if you're judgeable, that's fine. But we wanted to make sure we had a program that First Mates could feel like was competitive to what they have available from other brands, and that they could sell on us, because they do have clients who are looking for those kid-free vacations, and that's why we built the program. We launched it just a couple of weeks ago. We are in that phase of kind of making sure that we clearly tell people about the value in the program. We've worked out some kinks of the program, but it was built by First Mates. I'm really proud we've launched it. I know our team is going to make sure that we continue to make it even better, because if we're already doing groups, if you're already selling groups, you should get rewarded for that. So we're really pleased that it's available.
What for you? What is a group size? What does it range from?
Well, it depends on which program you're in, obviously. So you can be in the Circles program, which is up to 8 cabins, then above that, 8 and above, basically. So if you have really large groups, because we obviously do quite a lot of the really large groups, we have a groups team who can help actually manage that to make sure you can get your experiences together. But we are a brand that's always been about bringing people together. And so we have a range of different flexible models to make sure we can support that. But the most important thing that you should know is that our commitment is to ensure that when you do work with us, that process is seamless, that you feel like everybody's getting great value, and that ultimately you have options. Because sometimes things can move around. So if you want ultimate flexibility, there's a program for you. If you're looking for something with certainty, there's a program for you. And that's ultimately what the Virgin brand has always been about. You sort of work at a speed and a value proposition that makes sense for what you've got to offer. And if you have any questions, talk to your field reps, or call our sales services team and voyage planners, and they'll be happy to help you sort through the details, because we want you to feel great about that, but also feel really confident that this is because you asked for it, and Norman and John delivered it.
Fantastic. Well, I guess my always last question is, where can travel advisors go to learn more about Virgin Voyages? And you know what the URL is?
I definitely do, virginvoyages.com. However, you also have, don't forget, firstmates.com.
That's the one I was thinking of, firstmates.com, which is...
The only reason I talk about virginvoyages.com is because if you have a Let's Go book link, remember, you can actually share that with your clients, and
Right.
effectively it's got your journey for you. So you're effectively using the Virgin Voyages website as your website. So we're one of the very first brands that launched that link for you to be able to use as a tool. If you haven't heard of it, talk to your BDM. They'll be happy to share that with you, because we have rich information on there that you may want to share with clients to help sell the dream. And you shouldn't feel like you will not get rewarded for that. It's not about trying to make sure you don't get recognized for the sale, because we do know how important you are. But whatever tool works for you, you should use that, because sometimes people say with firstmates.com, it's a very good site, but they're actually looking for richer explanation on experiences. So feel comfortable going where you are and know that we've got your back.
Fantastic. Well, Nathan, thank you very much for taking the time. It was great to see you on board a couple of months ago. And again, I just saw everything that had happened and what you've been talking about, and now we're going to go another step in making even more improvements and more different cuisine, more shows. It just sounds like you keep improving the product continually, and that's the way to go for a line like yours, which literally launched. I hate to say it, it launched during COVID, for God's sake. You know, that's and it still succeeded. And now, as I interviewed Nirmal on board, and he said last year was really the year when it all came together, right?
It
And now,
was,
and
you know, I
now it's
think
just exploding, right?
it is like, again, it's like it was a very difficult year for the cruise industry, 2 years for the cruise industry with that sort of period. Um, the happy moment though is when you realize the industry not just survived but is actually thriving. And I
Yeah,
think that is, there were people who wrote this industry off. It shows the resilience of the industry. It shows the commitment of those who love cruising, but also it shows that this industry, it can survive a whole lot of things. For this brand particularly, I think from Richard's point of view, he's one of our greatest fans, which is lovely. He gets on board and he writes a lot of notes about things that he thinks we can do better. And that's the thing I'd say is we are far from perfect. We don't always get everything right. That's part of being human and part of learning what you're doing. But I hope what you experience with us is that when you do run into a problem, we fix it. Because I think the crew on board, because we take care of them, because we make sure they get Wi-Fi, we pay them, really decent wages, because they shouldn't have to feel like they're scrimping and slaving. They get amazing food in sort of almost the same quality of food, pretty much, actually sometimes a little better. In the lovely restaurants we've got for them, because the crew, as Richard will say, if your crew are taken care of and you make sure they're okay, they will always take care of your passengers and your sailors. And if you take care of your crew who take care of your passengers and sailors, ultimately your shareholders will get the returns they're looking for. And that principle pays off. And it is nice, as Nirmal said, to go, oh, it really is. It works, because ultimately you are telling us over and over again that crew in the industry are great, but there's something special about Virgin Voyages crew. And we just are so thrilled that you love them because they love you too.
fantastic. Well, again, Nathan, thank you for telling us all that's going on about Virgin
Thanks for
Voyages.
having
It
me.
sounds like we got more to come in the next few weeks. We're going to be waiting for that, and we'll look forward to seeing that. So hopefully, we'll see you on board soon.
You know what? It's going to be brilliant. That's what I'm going to say to you.
You're absolutely right. I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.